Welcome back to the American Over, a podcast on cricket in the USA. I'm Neel.
And I'm Dhruv. And Neil, oh my God, did you see that match
That
yesterday?
was
Holy
insane.
crap.
The finish there, I think pound for pound was the craziest final over, at least maybe I've ever seen. Maybe I've ever seen, at
I
least in the last couple of years.
I can't think of a crazier final
All
than
right,
than that final.
let's go through the numbers and the stats real fast for people. So first innings, right? So Texas Super Kings versus Washington Freedom. So Texas Super Kings put up 185 for four in their 20 overs, and then Washington Freedom come back crazy. They win on the last ball with one wicket in hand, by the way, 187 for nine. This is the equivalent of bottom of the ninth, bases loaded, two outs, two strikes, three balls, like down by three. Something insane,
Oh
insane.
yeah.
So what a finish. All right, let's start from the beginning. Let's start with the first innings. What was your take on that when TSK went up to bat?
Look, it's the classic problem, man. TSK still feels super top heavy to me.
Yeah.
And when someone doesn't perform, others have to pick up the pieces. Like Faf, he looked like he wasn't supposed to be there, which is okay. Look, new ground, new pitches are have been really hit and miss all over. Right, some of them have been really low scoring. Some of them have been like this match where 185 doesn't feel like enough, but also feels like enough at the same time. I don't know, weird. And then you had you had the middle over kind of pick it up. Like Mukamala, I think had a great game. I'm really impressed by how he picked it up after the first couple of games. And you've been a big fan of Leon Mulder and Donovan Ferreira.
Oh, for sure. So yeah, I mean, just starting from the beginning, right? So you exit the power play 33 for one, right? Like not great, Bob. That's not very good, right? And as you said, Faf has some dominating performances the first, I think, two matches. And it looked like he'd be the kind of guy to carry the team on his back, but old man Faf Duplessis has put up 8 off 14 in this match.
Yeah.
I think I'm a little more sanguine on the middle order than you are. At least I
Mm.
was. I think you've kind of come around to it. Mukamala 37 off 28, Russo 34 off 24, Kumar kind of workman like 13 off 15. And then they accelerated at the end. But before we go over that, you should see these kind of early middle overs: 7, 3, 2 runs off of 4, 5, 6.
Wow.
Then they get 19. Then Chowdhury comes on. They get 3. We'll talk about that later. 2, 19. Sorry, after 3, sorry, 14, 8, 5, 7. So very slow, very kind of weird. And they just turn on the gas at the end, man. They turn on the gas. Mulder and Ferreira, the last 5 overs, they put up 14, 5, 18, 21, and 17. Very, very good finish. And these guys both finished, I think, 44 not out off of like 20. Both of these
And
guys.
that's pretty funny because I never really saw Leon Mulder as a high intent finishing batsman. I
Yeah.
feel like he wants to be. I feel like he can be, but I've never seen him. That's just not the energy that I've gotten from him. It's always felt like he's a great test batter. He'd probably be incredible in ODI, but to see him put numbers up like this, I'm happy for him. That's good. It's hard to shift into that gear, especially so fast.
Yeah. Terrific. I mean, terrific final partnership from him and Ferreira. So imagine your Texas Super Kings. You come in, you finish 15, you're 110 for 4. So like a 7.3 run rate.
Yep.
It's like all right, right? And then these guys come in, they whack 75 for no loss off the last
Yeah.
5. So very, very good performance. You're right, intent, absolutely the intent. And you love to see these guys who maybe don't get as much recognition, kind of make a name for themselves, right? And come in at 5 and 6,
Yeah. I mean,
and put up some good totals.
you're with international superstars
Yeah,
here, right? And Donovan Ferrer is pretty young. Leon Mulder has been just making waves, right?
yeah.
We talked about this last time, almost breaking Brian Lara's record, right? He is. You think about who's going to be the next Fab Four. Leon Mulder's probably close to that list at least.
I believe it. Hey, let's talk about the bowling here. So, uh, I think Nikhil Chowdhury, guy's name's gonna
What
come
a
up again later.
game!
He was
What a
great.
game he had, huh?
Yeah, 4 overs, 29 runs, 2 wickets. Pretty solid. And it's really funny if you look at the Manhattan chart. He took a bite out of it, right? So the previous guy bowls for 19. This guy comes in and goes for 3, and then the next guy comes in and goes for 14. This is over 7, 8, 9. So you really see like this is where a good high leverage bowler can come in, right? Shut down, to use a baseball term, a rally, right?
Hmm.
And keep it under control. And then, again, Mulder Ferrer can do some damage, but you finish 15 and you're at 110 runs. There's only so much they can do. So that was, that was a pretty good performance from Chowdhury there to kind of keep it calm in the middle overs there.
Yeah, I'm really. I think TSK. There's two ways to look at this. There's a way to look at this where you had some great bowling, and of course you did. You had some good bowling. There's another where they just didn't have any steam in the middle.
Mm,
And once Mulder and Ferrer were kind of looking at the scorecard and basically thinking, okay, you know what? We only have
yeah,
five more overs left.
yeah,
Let's just swing for the fences and see what happens. And I think they got. I don't think they got lucky. I think it's quite a bit of skill. But look, when you have some wickets in hand and you run for it, that's the result you should expect that you
yeah.
want to get.
So Oakland's been a slightly lower scoring ground than Grand Prairie Dallas. So again, be the first couple of matches out in Dallas. Next batch are on Oakland. I think we're going to finish tonight in Oakland. So it's been a
Mhm.
relatively lower scoring ground. I think 185 was, I would say top like 30-40% of scores that we've had there. So not bad, right? Pretty solid. Uh,
Yeah.
was not enough for the craziness of the second inning. So let's go talk about that.
Oh man, the second innings. Okay. You had this incredible opening partnership, right? Right at the top. And then Steve Smith forgets that, or I guess he remembers that he's not a T20 batsman and gets out for 30 at a decent, I guess okay strike rate.
Yeah,
But as soon as he gets out, you see this absolute slowdown. Mitch
absolutely.
Owen is continuing to, Mitch Owen, what a game he had, right? He's just owning that opening partnership, and the only limiting factor he had was strike rate. And so you have these guys coming in, right? He gets this catch dropped by Milan Kumar that, to be honest, I don't know if you saw that, Neil. I felt like he should have caught that. It
I
really
remember
looked
seeing
like
with that. Yeah.
yeah, it was a tough chance. It was like I guess it wasn't a sitter, but he really should have held on to that. I don't know. But then you've got these guys coming in, right? Like you look at right as Steve Smith gets out, Chapman comes in, and Chapman
Mhm.
has two choices. He can either hit out or get out, or he can rotate the strike back to Mitch Owen, and he chooses to hit out and get out, which is I look. I think people have different opinions on that. I think if you have high intent batting, you're going to fail sometimes, and I think your goal should be to hit out and get out. Maybe you pace a chase differently, but it's not a huge deal. And then you have House come in, and he does a better job of getting strike back out to Owen. But look, like once he gets out and he kind of edges it back to the keeper, that's when the match gets really interesting. At
Yeah,
that
House,
point,
formerly known as Goose, by the way, right?
formerly known as Goose, yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah,
Andre's House. Yes, it's Dutch names. No, yeah, like when he got out, but because when I was following,
yeah,
they kept the target pretty well within sight, right?
yep.
Most of the time, right? Like after 10 overs, you need 74 off 60. Like that's not that bad. But yeah, I mean, like House gets out, it looks like they're just hitting a wall.
It was like rough. I don't remember the exact number, but I think it was something like 60 off 33. Not
I see 62
impossible.
off 42 at one point, 59 off 36 after 14.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. So not impossible by any means, right? That's less than a 200 strike rate, maybe like 170, give or take. Um, but it's not easy given the way that they were seeing that striking, right? And you had Mukamala take the gloves too, and so I thought Donovan Ferrer would come on, and we're going to talk about that match in a second. But maybe Texas could have made some better bowling choices. But then Nikhil Chaudhary sticks around, and then you end up with this last over. You want to talk about this, Neil?
This is crazy. All right, so again, they kept the target relatively well within kind of striking distance. So required run rate, the last couple overs is like 8 to 10. So they come in, they need 6 off 6, right? So they did do a pretty good job, right? Like they were staring down the barrel of like an 11 plus required run rate. So to get down to 6 off 6, pretty solid. Okay, so Akil Hossein walks in. This guy gets Marco Jansen out. Aponzo comes on. He's out for a golden duck. And then Asif Mahmood comes out. This man gets out as well. You got a hat trick. You got a hat trick
A
with
hat trick in the
19.4
last
overs gone.
over.
With like what is it, like 6 runs in hand?
Mm-hmm.
Insane, insane.
Mm-hmm.
And then of course I think a lot of people can probably saw the last bit here, right? So Chowdhury comes off with a walk-off six to secure the win. So just imagine the fans, right? Like you just got a hat trick taken against you.
Yeah.
You're down to you're down like your number 11 guys in. I mean, Chowdhury obviously gets the strike then to come off with a six to win the game. Can you imagine? I feel bad for poor Akil Hossein. This man gets a hat trick and then he loses in the same over.
It was, I mean, that was a crazy over, right? Lockett, like, first of all, Akil, as you said, just cleans up the tail.
Yeah,
He goes in again with a great
yeah.
ball that Lockie decides, unlike a certain David Miller we know,
Oh my
to
god.
take the run.
Yeah,
And it's what we were talking about earlier. He gave the man in form the strike. Nikhil Chaudhary comes on. Nikhil says, "Okay, I can take this. I can take this responsibility." And look, if he misses, whatever, hard fought game, right? But he connects,
yeah,
and just I can't imagine the pressure. I can't imagine uh, how exciting, how invigorating that must be. So much confidence.
yeah,
These are all young players, right? Nikhil
yeah,
Chaudhary just debuted for Australia against Bangladesh a month ago in T20s, right? Like these guys are they the MLC I think is great for getting some of these folks game time with these stars. I'm really impressed.
listen, I would have loved to spend an entire podcast talking about the penultimate ball. So Jose de Ferguson, as you discussed, right? So correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they made an appeal, and it ended up being, I think, umpire's call, whether or not that was an LBW. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and so almost right. You could imagine an alternate universe where he's off by like an inch, and he gets four
Yeah,
wickets off 4 balls, and the game's over. So
yeah,
that could have happened. They got the
yeah.
if the umpire had given a different decision on the field, that of course we're in that parallel universe. And then, as you said, if Ferguson doesn't have the presence of mind to take the run while
Mm-hmm.
everyone's out here standing around and appealing, then Chowdhury doesn't get on strike, and he doesn't get a chance to win. Like, do you want to go over the Miller thing? I think that's very instructive, actually.
Yeah, I mean, this is like, first of all, as they say, everything's happening in this
Yeah,
over,
yeah,
right? But the David Miller thing was really interesting, right? Like Delhi Capitals versus Gujarat Titans in this past IPL. If you have Kuldeep Yadav on one end, who's not, he's a bowler. He's not an all rounder. He's not a batsman. Like he's actually not even a good runner. And then you have David Miller, Killer Miller on one end, right? South African like aficionado. And so you're basically looking at these guys and you're thinking, okay, David Miller should have the strike.
oh
And
yeah,
you've got whatever, I think it was like 10 or 12 runs left. Like David Miller can capture this at the beginning of the over. You get through. David Miller hits a few good strikes. You get it down to you need two to win from two.
yeah,
The smart thing to do to guarantee you don't lose is no matter what happens, you take the run and put
yes,
Kuldeep on strike. The other smart thing to do is that you have the actual batsman on strike, and no matter what happens, you give the ball to David Miller. And what happened in this case is David Miller hit it, didn't take the single, and then kept the strike and couldn't connect on the next ball. And so they lost. They lost by 1 run in a way that they shouldn't have lost. And I look, the problem is that I think you could have agreed with both strategies. I
yeah,
think you absolutely could have sat there and said, you know what, if it were Nikhil Chaudhary in that situation and he had to turn over the strike to Lockie, I just think the math has to change when you're at 1 run left.
yeah,
You've got 1 run and you're going to lose by 1 or 2 or something like that. Because honestly, these are all international cricketers. Anyone can hit a single. Whereas with Lockie and Nikhil Chaudhary over here, I think they did the smart thing. Like Lockie's probably not hitting a six.
no,
Nikhil, I mean, he did it. He ended the
yeah,
game. So just
and
really
that's
interesting to see that last ball strategy.
I mean, good time, good teamwork, good communication, right? And they set it up perfectly. They set it up perfectly. So I really think you could do books on that last over. You could do books on that. So
Yeah.
very, very exciting. Very, very exciting. I mean, this is at like 1:30 in the morning or something, right? Eastern time.
Yep. Yep.
They got some weird timings for MLC, man. Uh, but
Yeah. I don't blame
but
them, man. I don't blame them. West Coast competing with the World Cup. It is what it is.
let's talk about another match that I thought was pretty fun. MI New York at Texas Super Kings. So this one was a low scoring thriller. So I think MI comes out 127 off 9, and then TSK just cruises to 132 off 4. So pretty easy batting situation. I just want to talk about the bowling, man. Look at this. Donovan Ferreira, right? This guy's line: 4 overs, 1 maiden. By the way, unheard of. 14
Unheard
runs, 3 wickets. Like these are figures you'd expect to see in a test match, like good figures from test
of.
match, right? Like this is unheard of. This guy, he does a wicket maiden, gets Nicholas Poran.
Insane.
Earlier, he got Quinton de Kock and Kyron Pollard in the same over at the cost of 3 runs. Like this is insane. This guy. So I didn't know this, but apparently he's a wicket keeper too, right?
Yeah.
This guy, Donovan Ferrer, I think he's the Shohei Otani of cricket. He can bat. He put up 44 off of 20 or something like that. He bowled terrifically in this match, and then he keeps wicket too, which makes you actually wonder, where was he in last night's match?
I don't know. I genuinely don't know.
Yeah,
I think Ferrer could have been a game changer
yeah.
for
Bring him
the
into
match.
bowl. I mean, that could have swung the game right there. I mean, it was a game of inches. I
Yeah.
think,
And look, this was a stickier pitch, right? Like the New York TSK match was definitely a stickier pitch. Ball was gripping a little bit more. It was definitely, I mean, obviously it was a lot lower scoring, and even then it was kind of close, right? Um, Texas cruised, but like it wasn't. It wasn't like they were, they ended the match in 10 overs or 15
no,
overs or
yeah,
something like that. So I think Ferreira, maybe he would have struggled on the flatter pitch that we saw earlier, but talent like that, especially when you see it, I don't think you want to keep it hidden. At least throw him the ball for a bit.
yeah. No, I think TSK could have they could have come away with that one if they put him in. So other numbers were pretty good for TSK bowling, by the way. So Adam Milne is 4 overs, 22 runs, 2 wickets. Ahimanyu
Mhm.
Lumba, 18 runs, 1 wicket, 4 overs. Just really, really good bowling performance out there. I think you were mentioning that you can't really tell which of the various pitches they're using out in Oakland, the various drop-in pitches. They do seem to have different personalities, don't they?
They really do. This was a much. I mean, we were talking about this was a much more ticky-tacky pitch. Like
Yeah,
a lot more. You were seeing the ball gripping a lot more. You were seeing bowlers just have a substantial advantage, which you wouldn't expect at a small ground,
yeah,
especially in the MLC and honestly in T20 formats where they want
yeah,
they want flatter pitches
yeah,
because
yeah,
people want to see some hit sixes hit. But my hot take is that I want to see close games.
yeah.
And if it's hard to bat, I think that's interesting. If the bowlers can genuinely make a difference rather than they accidentally get a wicket, I think that's interesting. And so I think there is definitely a balance to strike, and I'd rather see closer games than not.
So speaking of the opposite of that, well, I guess it was a close match, but it was a slugfest. Let's talk about Seattle Orcas and SF Unicorns.
Oh yeah,
So Seattle all out, by the way, for 191, and then SF Unicorns come back and get it 192 for 8. They win
yeah,
very, very late in the game. So that was really exciting slugfest. What was your take?
yeah. It was interesting. Like to see Seifert, Cheyenne Jahangir, and even Bretsky, just that high intent, top
Yes,
heavy game that these guys continue to play. I mean, look, I think T20 has changed. I think especially franchise T20, that's the game that we're playing now.
yes,
And you see whether it's Vaibhav Suryavanshi in the IPL, or even it's Rohit Sharma from a couple of years ago. Tim Seifert, Finn Allen, these guys took that to heart in the World Cup earlier this year, and you're seeing the results now. Shahan Jahangir kind of keeping up with, and in fact, honestly exceeding Tim Seifert over the last MLC has been just truly incredible. And even Bretsky's out there, kind of hitting for the fences. I would have thought that they had enough. To be honest, I think they had a.
Yeah.
I know they were all out by the last over, but given what we had seen from the rest of that ground, like I genuinely thought they would have had enough, and guess they didn't.
Yeah, I just want to talk quickly about the difference between the pitches because we alluded to it earlier. So let me just check the numbers here. But Dallas, I mean, you said last time it was a highway, and I think that
Yeah,
is absolutely the case. So look at this: of the various many innings we've had so far, 7 of the 8 highest scoring innings were in Dallas, and then 6 of the 7 lowest scoring were in Oakland. So very different behaviors, and
yeah,
obviously different pitches vary. But you look at the environment. I mean, there you go. So yeah, 191 put on the board by the Seattle Orcas. You would think that's plenty. You think that's plenty, right?
yeah. I mean, look, there were missed opportunities, right? Hetmeyer, Stoinis, they have these guys have seemed out of form for like
Yeah,
forever. I can't even think
yeah,
of like them being in form in the last year or so. Pretty surprising. Dustin Shanika, I think, is another one of those where he should have been more in form. But it happens, right? It happens. Even then, these guys got to a decent score because you had such a strong start. That's the value, I think, of that really high intent, really strong start, especially in the power play where you have a little
yeah.
bit more leeway to do it. Um, but then you have Brody Couch.
That he had some
What a
weird figures,
match!
man, but he was effective. He was effective. Four overs, 41 runs. Not cheap. 3 wickets, but big contributor, man. Big contributor.
Player of the match, right? Because of the
Yeah,
second innings. Tell us about it.
yeah. He gets Britska too, which I think that was also a big turning point out there.
Yeah,
Yeah. Hetmeyer and Britska, same over by the way. So that you could argue that kind of cooled off the hot start. You know,
yeah,
had them
I
lead to
think
maybe a
so.
good but not insurmountable total. So the chase, I enjoyed that chase. I enjoyed that chase. You will know I am the biggest fan of young man Lawandre Pretorius.
Yeah,
This kid, 87 off 39, 220 strike rate. This kid, I think he turned 20 like 3 months ago.
wow,
Incredible. And I think what's interesting if you look at the scorecard, right? So this guy gets 87 off 39. His partner, Finn Allen, gets a duck off of 2 balls.
sad.
So, you're not seeing much there. I would really expect it, but I expected better from Finn Allen. But here's the thing: if you set the table that well with the Andre Pretorius, you kind of keep it within striking distance, and then you just need to have Brody Couch pop off the last couple of overs, and there you go. You've chased it.
Yeah, and this is what we're talking about, right?
Yeah,
Like, I know we were complaining a little bit about top heavy teams
yeah,
last year. I think we're seeing it. Maybe it's not that bad of it. Maybe it's not that bad, right? If you have people like Hassan Khan, Xavier Bartlett, like I'm just looking at this, Aaron Hardy in particular, keep the strike going, but you've got this incredible start at the beginning, and I mean, if you look at even Pretorius, like he's watching his partners go and fail, but
yeah,
he's keeping the acceleration because he's set,
yes,
he's in, and then you just need someone else to finish, right? Like you need one other person to stand up, maybe two other people to stand up. And Brody Couch, our player of the match, boy, did he do that.
yeah, yeah. I think the top heaviness. I know we complained about it. I think we complained about. I think TSK in particular
Yeah.
having a very top heavy lineup. But I think we're seeing a lot of teams have this, right? The structure generally on the batting side of the ball, at least, is like you have 1 or 2 superstars at the top. And, a lot of the famous international guys are out of form. So,
Hmm.
you know, I think if you can set the table well with those guys, you have enough, maybe people who haven't gotten as much recognition as I suppose they deserve. But you kind of keep it close. Let your all rounders, in the middle orders and middle and end of the game, right? Let them come in and finish it off, right? And I think that might be an interesting structure of like big names at the top, you know, guys all rounders who can do the job well towards the end. It's a different shape, right? Than let's say maybe even the IPL where you can just kind of you can slug down to number 7, number 8. Here,
Oh
maybe not
yeah.
necessarily, but it leads to a different shape
Oh
of
yeah.
the innings, which I think is really interesting.
Yeah. And I mean, like, look, like quick wickets from Dustin Shanika, like cause what feel like a collapse, right?
Yeah,
And then you kind of pick it back up. It's
yeah,
just one these types of matches are just so fun
yeah,
because of exactly what you're saying, right? Like you need someone to be able to get you back on track.
yeah,
And someone like Brody Couch, I mean, he did. That's what he did. That's
yeah,
what he did. Even and the top heaviness is basically your life preserver, right? But if you think about like how chases were traditionally paced, and the strategy came from ODI, right? It's, hey, look, like we can't lose wickets too fast, and so
Yes.
you have an anchor. You have Virat Kohli is one of the most famous anchors, right? And sometimes he gets roasted for being, for his strike rate nowadays. But someone like a Virat, like a KL, these guys learn how to anchor chases from
Mm,
ODI.
mm,
The game has changed, and you don't. Sometimes you need anchors, and famously, Virat in the 2024 T20 World Cup was that anchor. But sometimes, man, hit out, get out, and just play that like. And you know what? Maybe Baz McCollum somewhere is smiling, but like this is just how you have to play the game.
yeah. It does make you fear a little bit for Test cricket as a Test cricket enjoyer, as a strong ardent supporter. Like, if people forget how to be anchors, is that a good thing? Maybe not, but that's a different story. Hey, speaking of parity, I want to talk about the standings a little bit. Get away from
Hmm.
the games, talk about that. So it's actually really funny. We have a lot of parity. So we have six teams. Five of the teams have two wins. TSK has three. And so,
Wow.
and four of the teams are actually playing 500 ball, as in same number of wins and losses. You only have one team with a winning record, that's Seattle, and one with a losing record. Sorry, one that's winning is LA, one with a losing record, which is Seattle.
Hmm.
So extreme parity, right? And we'll talk about the playoff format in a bit. But basically, what happens, right, is all these teams are basically playing very similarly, similar lineups, close games, which I think we all love. And it all will end up coming down to the net run rate. So you want to talk about that a little bit about how that tiebreaker will work?
Yeah, I mean, look, people talk a lot about the auction format, but
Yeah.
when it works, right?
Yeah.
I'd rather have, we were talking about this earlier, I'd much rather have close games than not.
Yeah.
But yeah, net revenue retention, it's just
Net
drastic.
revenue retention. Bro, your startup is showing.
Oh my God, net revenue retention. Oh my God, net
That's going to be
run
a clip.
rate.
I need to clip
I'm
that, put it
looking,
on Instagram, man. No, no,
that's
no.
so funny.
Net
I'm
run
looking
rate.
at
Sorry.
NRR, net
I
run
know.
rate.
I
Oh
know. I
my
also read it.
God.
Anyway, net run rate. That's anyway. Net run
uh,
rate. Right.
yeah.
So basically, it's just like your run rate minus your opponent's run rate. The main thing being, if you run out of wickets, you are charged the full 20 overs. Right.
Yep.
So basically, the spread is like 1 or 2 points of NRR, and that's not that
Hmm.
much, right? Like, like if you win a game by 20 runs, that's just the whole point of NRR, basically, right there.
A hundred
Um,
percent. A
depends how
hundred
to do it, but
percent.
like basically that's how it works, right? So
Yeah.
it's
And
going
with
to be
how
very
few
close.
teams there
Yeah,
are and how
yeah,
close it is,
yeah.
I'm genuinely concerned about how many of these will be decided by NRR.
I mean, that's fun though, right? Because you know, one problem I have with a lot of sporting events is that if you're losing, who cares, right? You lose
Mm,
by 10, you lose by 20, who cares? But here, when everything I think in the end is going to be decided by NRR, like that means every ball matters, right? Even if you're
every ball
hopelessly dead
matters.
lost, at least you want to try and salvage that NRR a bit, right?
Yeah,
And
that's
even
true.
then,
Because
little
it's not
things,
like last year.
yeah.
Sorry, good.
No, no, go ahead.
Even like and it's unlike last year where Seattle was just blowing it the whole
Yeah,
time, right?
yeah,
And they were just completely losing. Whereas like this year, it's a lot more evenly matched, and so look, there's four playoff spots. There's five teams. Anyone could win.
yeah, yeah.
And
So let me explain the playoff format. So it's an interesting one. You would think that would be, four teams, like 1 and 4 play, 2 and 3 play. Not that simple. So what happens
mhm,
is, this is my understanding because the format's kind of changed a little bit. My understanding is qualifiers, so team 1 and 2 play, and then there's the
mhm,
eliminator, so team 3 and 4 play. So the winner of the qualifier moves on to the finals automatically, and then you have kind of a redemption round where the loser of the 1 and 2 match and the winner of the 3 and 4 match play. And then the winner of that goes on to the finals. So basically, this is why seeding matters so much, right? If you're top two, you need one win and you're in. If you're 3 or 4, you need two wins and you're in, right? And 5 and 6, of course, you go home. So I think what we might see towards the end will be really exciting. Is we might win the match, but we need to get like 20 runs in this over to be able to sneak into the playoffs or to go from 3 seed to 2 seed. And that's going to make some very, very exciting cricket in the last, let's say, a couple of weeks of the season.
oh yeah, I'm super psyched for it. I really like this format. I know it's controversial, but I personally really like it. the IPL and some of the other T20 franchise leagues have similar formats. I just think you should be rewarded for being top of the table.
Yeah.
Maybe less so in a smaller table like this one, but some of these larger tables, and once the MLC grows, I think you should be rewarded to be top of the table. I love it.
There's a bit of a weird discontinuity between 2 seed and 3 seed. Like 1 and 2 doesn't really make a difference, and then 3 and 4 doesn't make a difference. But 2 versus 3
Mm,
makes a huge difference. So that's a little bit weird. I mean, there's only so much you can do, right,
yeah,
with the table like this. But yeah, I think it's a cool format, and I'm excited to see there and be there for the finals. So all right, so let's look ahead a little bit. So we're going to finishing up in Oakland, I think today. Then we head to Pomona for a couple matches. We actually go back to Dallas. I think we forgot that last week. Go back to Dallas. Looking forward to some 300 run innings or whatever crazy stuff's going to happen out there. And then Oakland for the playoffs. So that should be interesting. You noticed something interesting, right? Which was TSK's played like 6 games. I think
yeah.
LA's played 3. Like, what's going on there, man?
It's weird, right? Because like you see TSK at the top of the table, but
Yeah,
so much of that is just because they have played literally double the games of LA.
yeah. I mean,
And
they're like, yeah, they're playing 500 ball. They just happen to have had one more game.
yeah, exactly. Like you said, LA is the only one with the winning record.
Yeah,
That doesn't make any sense for them to be
no,
at the bottom. But it's I thought it was. Is it not that they're trying to get people to play home field advantage, right?
yeah.
To get the crowds out. Like Dallas will play more, or Texas will play more in Dallas. SF will play more in Oakland. Is that not the case?
That's what I thought. But then I looked in the numbers. Uh, it's actually not the case. So in Dallas, so TSK played 3, LA played 2 in Dallas. Like, okay, that kind of makes sense, right? Maybe they play more games because it's their home stadium.
Uh-huh.
Oakland, then TSK played 3, LA played 2. In Pomona, then LA plays 3, TSK plays 2. So I kind of see it. But then you go back to Dallas, and now LA is playing 3 matches, and TSK is playing 2 matches. So there's not really any correlation between, oh, we're playing in Dallas, so Texas plays more. Maybe a little correlation in Pomona and SoCal, but really what happened is just they just front loaded the schedule for TSK and back loaded it for LA, which just strikes me as really strange. Like, now, they're fortunate that now they have 3 stadiums, right, that are kind of home stadiums for 3 of the teams, but you're still not really seeing any correlation between, like, these guys are the home team, they're going to play more matches here. When you
Weird.
kind of have the traveling circus set up of everyone just kind of moves from one city to the next, I get that that's kind of difficult, but I would kind of want to see that transition to more, we're going to fly over, play a match, fly somewhere else, play a match. Team does a homestand, team does a road trip. Maybe it's more possible once all 6 teams have a home stadium. And we talk more about this in later weeks, but I would like to see some progress towards that.
I wonder if it's a cost thing or even a scheduling thing. For example,
Probably. Yeah.
I noticed we haven't really seen Ravichandran Ashwin play for
Yeah.
SF, except for that one match where he bowled like an over. um,
2 overs to 24. Remember that?
yeah,
Pretty.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, he
Yeah.
got
Imagine
absolutely
that's his
washed.
entire line for the entire season.
So I was thinking like maybe it's got to do with scheduling, but
Yeah.
I don't know. You decide these well in advance, so
Yeah.
I don't know.
All right. You had a fun story for us to finish up with. You want to talk about it?
Okay. 2019 World Cup winner with England, Liam Plunkett. Incredible bowler. Just, great test lines, great ODI lines, maybe less so in T20, but, just incredibly talented bowler. Moves to the US and starts a cricket academy. Incredibly successful cricket academy, not that far from actually where you grew up, Westchester, Pennsylvania.
No kidding.
Yeah, and you know, I'm incredibly cool to see someone move their family over to the U.S. from England and just decide to support and grow American cricket. And then he does something weird. He is now a minor league baseballer for the Oakland Ballers.
Yeah. So
What?
incredible. Okay. So let me just explain. I've been waiting for this day forever where I can use my baseball knowledge to talk about cricket. This is great. So yeah. So okay. So there's actually a lot of backstory. It's actually very appropriate for cricket. So yeah. So Oakland Ballers play for the Pioneer League. So this is an independent minor league. So basically, you have minor leagues that are affiliated with like the MLB, right? So you have like the Philadelphia Phillies have a triple A team, double A team, single A, whatever, right? Uh, this is different. This is an independent league, the Oakland Ballers. So this guy has played 1 game He threw his line was point 0.1 inning pitched, one strikeout. This man stood up, threw 5 pitches, struck a guy out, and sat back down. So he had about the smallest of debuts possible, but he did pitch well. He pitched well for himself. I think he technically started the game, which is kind of funny. Uh, so good job, Liam Plunkett. The interesting kind of context is that the Oakland Athletics, right, baseball team out in Oakland,
Hmm.
quite infamously left and moved to Las Vegas. That is also interestingly why the Oakland Coliseum is so available for cricket
Hmm.
because the A's are gone, and basically the Ballers, replacing the A's with the B's. This independent team started up in Oakland basically to fill the gap by the major league
Oh.
team moving away. I think they also played the Oakland Coliseum. I think uh, so. What's funny is okay, MLC is taking advantage of the A's going out, and then this cricketer comes and joins the very team that is quote unquote replacing the Oakland baseball team out in Oakland. Uh, I kind of I don't I forget this is a home game and an away game, but it could just be kind of funny. Imagine Liam Plunkett throwing some some like bullpen sessions, and then the cricketers come out to meet him.
That's so
Uh,
funny.
what an image, right? Uh, I You think batting or bowling? Like, could you see? I could see cricket players like kind of coming over to play minor league cricket, baseball, or vice versa, right?
Yeah, another English cricketer, Harry Brook, came out to the Cardinals actually a few years
Really?
ago, and he wasn't serious about joining their team, but he was playing with them, and obviously Harry Brook is an incredibly accomplished cricketer.
Yeah.
He picked up baseball batting decently well,
Mm,
pretty fast. I mean, look, it was a 16-minute video, so who knows how long like the actual time was, but he seemed to pick it up really fast with them. And I personally think batting is probably a lot more transferable,
yeah.
right? There's a couple of big things like the action for bowling is just so different. Pitching and bowling are not the same thing. The ball is structured differently, right? Like the way you manage the seam is differently or is different. Even just the leather ball getting softer over time, whereas baseballs get replaced. Like this entire strategy is totally different. But forget all of that. Biomechanically,
Yes.
your bowling action and your pitching action are drastically different, and success criteria are different. The
Yes.
world record for bowling in cricket is Shoaib Akhtar, 161 kilometers per hour, which is about 100 miles an hour, which is a good but not near the record
Yeah.
of a baseball pitch. I mean, even just like the lengths are different. Trying to bounce the ball or
Oh
pitch the
yeah.
ball
Yeah.
versus just the way you're pitching. I think it's just drastically different. I'm shocked to see Liam Plunkett,
Yeah.
pitching 70 miles an hour decently successfully.
That actually makes it even more impressive, right? That like I think you're right. Bowling to pitching is not. I mean, you need arm strength in both cases, but it's just such a different kind of thing. And not to mention, half of pitching is like learning your stuff, is knowing how to throw a curveball, a seam, or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Very, very impressive. But yeah, I wonder maybe we'll see more crossover. I mean, we got a lot of rugby players from Australia, Samoa come play NFL. We got soccer kickers who
Mhm.
are well kickers, right, in the NFL. So it could be interesting. I could see some cool kind of crossover. So anyway, Dhruv, I'm looking forward to the next week of cricket. Should be another fun week out in the MLC.
I'm incredibly excited. There's a ton going on. I'm going to hop off and watch Ireland beat India again, and hopefully India beat Australia in this World Cup group stage. But anyway, it's been
Exciting.
fun, Neil. Over and out.
Over and out. See you.